Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Thirsty Thursday with Cocktails on Market. My name is Nathan. I am your host for today's episode, and welcome and happy Thirsty Thursday. So, we are based in LA, and it is, if you didn't know, has been historically cold and chilly. So, today I am going to make sure that I make a beverage for everybody that is a little bit tropical, has some spice, give us a little bit of that extra zhuzh that we need in our lives. And then we might meet somebody new. So we have things to do. We've got stuff to make it happen, and let's dive right into it. So I am going to be using a white rum to be making a mai tai. Mai tais are delicious tiki beverages that incorporate orgeat. So unfortunately, if you have a nut allergy, you're going to want to avoid a mai tai. But you can definitely make some alternatives with some simple syrup or something like that. And this is how I am going to start. So I want to take my mixing tool here. I'm going to be shaking. So I have my small side of my shaker here. And this is where I am building my beverage, and I'm not going to move it until I'm ready to shake. So I'm going to grab my measuring tool as well. If you were here last week, we discussed measuring tools and shaking tools. I can go over it just briefly, give you a little primer. So this is called a Boston shake. It's called that because that's the city where it was invented. When I close it, I'm going to put my large side on like that. If you ever buy one of these, just know that you want it to have a heavy angle on one side, straight line on the other side. That's what it wants to do. We don't want to try and force it to do anything it doesn't want to, because then it could we don't want to lose our booze. And then this tool right here is a jigger. It's a Japanese style, which means it has two sides. There are lots of different styles of measuring tools. This is a 1-2. So I'm going to be calling out these measurements that I'm doing. You can follow along at home. Just know that whatever tool you're using might vary. So I'm going to start with my lime, which fresh lime juice is the most important piece of a good mai tai. I want to do an ounce. So you see how I'm holding my measuring tool in my non-dominant hand, and I'm also holding it at the breaking point of the tool. That way I get the range of motion that lets me pour and flexibility to flip if need be. So if I'm switching over measurements, I'm doing lots of different beverages at the same time, I can do the measurements as need be because I have figured out how to hold. So one of my recommendations is, if you get one of these, to just kind of, practice, play around, flipping it over in your fingers before you ever try and put any liquid in it to get that confidence that you need. So I have an ounce of my fresh lime juice inside of my tin, and that is what we want our starting point to be. So the lime should be the main affair of a good mai tai, and to complement it, to add that sweetness, we are going to an orgeat. So orgeat is an almond base sweetener, and it has a lovely nuttiness to it. We want 3/4 ounces right into our tin. 3/4 ounces. Again, your shaking or your measuring tool might have a line. I've done this a few times, so I didn't really look at it when I did it, but there should be an inner line that will tell you 3/4 ounces. And then before we shake, of course, we're going to need our rum. I am grabbing a white rum here today. You can find white and spiced rum kits in the Cocktails Market. And I'm doing 2 ounces of that rum into my tin. And hi, Cindy. People are saying hi. I'll say hi back. All right. So right now I am going to be ready to shake. So again, if you were here before, we're discussing ice and the reason why we had lots of different ice and the tools that ice gives us as bartenders. So I'm using your kind of garden variety, refrigerator style ice. If you're using that at home, is really actually quite good for making cocktails because it is right in the middle of the scale of going to give you foam and the good mouthfeel, that texture, that extra little that you want, and dilution. So you can slide along that scale all the way up to like a big single rock of ice, and then down to pebble ice. So if I was to put in a big single rock that you use for old fashions, that is going to give me the most amount of foam with the least amount of dilution. On the other end of things, if I was to use the pebble ice, it would shake all the way down and might even disappear by the end of shaking, but it isn't going to give me that foam. The nice refrigerator ice lies right in the middle, and that is what we want. So I'm going to grab a good trowel full of ice. That'll give me enough to work with here. And then, as before, I'm placing my tin on top. I'm going to give it a little pop. So I'm kind of priming it with my hand and then giving it a little pop. If you see bartenders do a big smack, that is mostly for entertainment value. It's not really necessary. So I know that this is close. I'm going to flip it to myself. And now this is the fun part. This is the reason why everybody does this. This is the shake. So I am going to, dominant hand is doing most of the work. Non-dominant is coming out here. And we're going to do that nice V shape. So I'm starting up and out, back to myself, down and out, back to myself. So if I do it a little slow, it'll look like this. You can start to get a song in your head, you know, get a little tune, give that a little butt shaking, get that little groove going. And if I move it a little bit faster, kind of like a choo-choo train. And then I know I'm done. When my fingers are really cold, and there is condensation on that tin. Beautiful. We're ready to go. We give this a little squeeze. Press it open. We want everything inside. Ooh, there's a nice foamy sound in there. All right. I have my Hawthorne strainer. That's the little bunny-eared one. And that is going to help me control the ice chips and the flow. Grab a serving glass for myself. And I'm going to serve with ice today because we're going to do a float. So I'm going to give myself some ice cubes. Fill up my ice cubes. Give myself a little float. And I'm going to pull up as I serve myself. That's going to let me get everything confidently out of the shaking tool. And I'm going to give it a little extra shimmy shake on the end there. There we go. And final steps of a Mai Tai are going to be to add our orange liqueur. So I'm going to grab some Grand Gala, crack this open, and I'm doing just half an ounce of this just to get that lovely little taste. We're going to pour it over, float it on top, give a nice even plane so we get it all over everything. You kind of get it on the rim of the glass as well, because that will give you that pop of orange the first sip that you take. And then finally, I'm going to finish mine off with a little bit of nutmeg and do that nice, like that salpe thing, that very dramatic. And I want a nice even plane around the glass as well. That's going to garnish it nicely and should leave us with something like this. If I am to switch up my view for you, it's going to look like that. All right. And voila. So you've made your cocktail. You're ready to enjoy. But there is something that goes with cocktails, and that is a friend to share it with. So I'm going to clean this up, and then I'm probably going to invite my friend over here, our guest for today. Come on out, Mr. Martini.
Oh, my word.
Welcome.
My word. I have not been here in an eon. Things have changed so much. How beautiful this all is. My brother Nathan.
It is so good to see you.
It is great to see you, my friend, and hello to all who are joining us today.
Slide by you.
Oh, yes, sir. Please, please. Thanks,
There
Kenneth
we are.
Fox. Oh, my gosh. Let me just try this drink first of all.
Oh, yeah,
It's
that's
so
for you.
tasty. For me.
Yeah.
I really need it. Thank you.
Everyone, my friends, Mr. Martini, a dear old friend, a world traveler.
It is true. And I really needed that drink, by the way. I am a world traveler. I have worked with the Talk Tales crew for a few years now, though I have been a little MIA. A little bit about myself. I am Jethro Joseph J. Joaquin P. Martini. That is my full name.
I don't know if I've ever heard that before.
Rarely do I use it. Most folks just call me Jeff, but friends happen to call me Mr. Martini, so I hope you'll all call me Mr. Martini. A little bit about me, though. I'm a world traveler, as Nathan just mentioned. I live on a houseboat. I'm from Bayou-La-Battery, Louisiana, and I just let the tide.
What was the name of that town?
Bayou-La-Battery, Louisiana.
Okay, Bayou-La-Battery.
It's in the beautiful.
In the just let us know in the chat if you've ever been there.
Please do. I would love to know if you have. It's a beautiful place. though the coral vines are choking our poor swamp. We don't know how long she's going to last. But anywho, excuse me.
That's yours.
That's so tasty. I usually let the tides take me wherever I may land. A little bit of a thing that happened recently with all these storms going about. My boat got sucked into one of those whirlpools. I think that's what you call it.
Wow. Oh, like a cyclone?
Like a cyclone, exactly, sir. So I was kind of shanghaied out at sea for a while. But the winds are good, and they led me back here to beautiful Los Angeles. I parked my boat in the port, started walking about, and found myself here with my favorite
Well,
food.
we are glad that you made it back.
Thank you. I was concerned.
Yeah.
But what do we have here today?
Well, no, I'm just sharing with my friends on market some fun cocktail facts and skills that they can take home with them.
Well, absolutely. That's a very keen knowledge you want to know is how to make a cocktail, especially if you have yourself some nice bar tools and liquor at your home bar. Doesn't hurt to have a little knowledge on how to use them.
That's true. Do you have any knowledge for us?
Well, I was going to say, speaking of which, my name is Jethro Joaquin P.J. Martini, last name being Martini, and I see we have the makings of a good Martini. Yes, so
that's true. We do. It's like we almost knew that you were coming.
Well, who would have told you that? I don't even know. But if you wouldn't mind, I would love to show you how my family earned our name by showcasing.
I would be honored.
Oh, well, the honor is all mine, good sir. Let me take one more sip of this here. My gosh.
So last week we discussed briefly why you would shake versus stir.
Oh, of course.
So we shook this.
You did.
And so, but a martini is
going to be stirred.
Okay.
You always want to stir it, preferably, as I'm sure they've mentioned before, shaking usually goes when you're adding citrus or otherwise some ingredients that wouldn't naturally kind of go together via like a stir. So with shaking, you're kind of forcing them to work together with the ice and the dilution, getting the air bubbles in there from the nice V shake, as Nathan so beautifully demonstrated a moment ago. Oh, of course.
So yeah, to reiterate for some folks in the chat, and Ryan, we already made a Mai Tai, and that was because I was cold. So I wanted to be reminded of the Caribbean. And then Mr. Martini is going to show us his speciality.
Yes. And Martini is in the family name. So I'm going to put this drink here to the side right now and kind of assemble my tools. First things first, we want to have our tools set out as they are. Here I have a vessel for all of my liquids and ice. Anything could work if you have like a nice pint glass at home or even a jar. That could work just fine as long as you can fit all of your liquids and your ice in there. That'll work just
fine. But this is a mixing glass.
Yes, this is a mixing glass. Exactly, sir. Mixing glass. I was looking for the way. It just escaped me for a moment. Anywho, with a martini, you have a couple choices, gin or vodka. Gin is historically what the spirit that a martini started with, so that's what we're going to use today. We will be using a Blue Coat American dry gin that is American made. Let me get a little whiff of that real quick.
Mr. Martini, can you help us with gin a little bit? Because I know a lot of people have maybe a stigma against gin.
Yes.
And we here at Cocktails like to say that that's probably because they were stealing it from their parents' cabinet.
Exactly. Yes. Gin is one of those beautiful spirits that really stands on its own. Juniper, being the main ingredient in gin, is obviously going to have a very herbaceous taste and smell to it. Which
that's a berry, right?
That is a berry. Yes, it is. So, if you were to drink it just, in a shot form or straight out of the bottle from your parents' cabinet, as most of us have tried, it may not have the most attractive taste. However, I have found that gin makes some of the most beautiful cocktails, taste-wise, the notes. It just really is such a fun spirit. So don't let it shy you away if you took a little sip and it tasted a little funky. That's okay. You maybe just weren't using it the right way.
There we go. So gin can recuperate its image if with the tools that we're going to learn.
Exactly. Tools make all the difference. So anyway, we are going to be using a gin. However, I will not be starting with gin when I'm building this cocktail today. I'm going to start with vermouth. a typical rule of building cocktails, especially if you're going to be using ingredients that aren't as boozy, be it like a citrus or a liqueur, start by adding those first. That way, in case any mistakes happen, you can dump those out. It won't usually cost you as much to pull a full pour of a spirit.
That's true. And that is, if you're crafty and noticed what I did earlier, I started with the lime juice.
Exactly.
All the way up to the rum.
Nathan's been around a few times. He knows some tricks of the trade.
I wasn't fishing for the compliment, but thank you.
Oh, well, of course. Got to give credit where credit's due. And again, earlier he had mentioned this is a 2-to-1 Japanese style jigger. He mentioned gripping it at the breaking point, which is what I will do. You want to have the range of motion and flexibility. If you can really get it down, it'll be a hot sell to any people that you're making a drink with.
That's true.
Notice
it is a party trick.
It really is. So a martini, very simple. We're going to first be adding 1 ounce of vermouth. I'm going to be using this small side here. Fill that all the way to the tippy top. For those of us that can see, it's basically right on the line of 1 ounce. And I'm going to pour that into my mixing apparatus.
That's beautiful.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you. And I will put the lid back on my vermouth. Don't want any accidents to happen. So now I have 1 ounce of vermouth in my mixing glass. This is a little Martini family secret. We like our martinis bitter and dirty. But today we're going to get it nice and bitter by adding some grapefruit bitters.
Oh, grapefruit.
Grapefruit. Like I said, we like it very bitter in the Martini family, but historically speaking, an accurate martini would be made with orange bitters. But today, we're going to be using some grapefruit. I hope you don't mind.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's a beautiful thing about cocktails is that they are subjective. You can put in what you like, and if you enjoy it, then that means you did a good job.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. Cocktails, like any form of art, are all about expressing your individuality and what you like. So if you mix something together and you like it, who's to say it's not a fantastic drink? Because you like it. Anywho,
Pearls of wisdom.
Pearls of wisdom from Mr. Martini.
From the captain himself.
I'm just going to be adding 5 small drops of this grapefruit bitters. Bitters are a tincture, so this flavor is going to be very, very powerful. So you don't want to use too many. 5 drops might even be more than enough, but we're going to find out today. Anywho, in my mixing glass, once again, I have 1 ounce vermouth. I put 5 drops of grapefruit bitters, and now we are getting to the fun part, the gin. Once again, we are using an American dry gin today by Blue Coat. Anywho, I use 1 ounce vermouth. We're going to use double that of gin, 2 ounces.
So 2-to-1.
2-to-1.
Is that standard?
That is absolutely standard. Martinis usually follow a strict 2-to-1 ratio. However, there is some wiggle room depending on how you like it. But anywho, 2 ounces, right at the breaking point, we're going to grip and do a nice cascade right into our mixing glass. Spilled a little on the side. I hope you'll forgive me.
I already have.
Well, thank you, sir.
So I have heard the phrase shaken, not stirred, kind of famously. Can you help elucidate that?
Well, yes, if I do declare, I believe that was made famous in a James Bond movie.
I do think so.
Yes, and that would, if I'm not mistaken, be the Vespa Martini they were talking about now.
I think that as well.
Yes, and that is a martini made with gin and a little bit of vodka as well. Not my personal favorite, but if you want to try something different next time you're at a nice fancy cocktail bar, maybe give a Vespa a go.
Vesper Martini.
Vespa Martini. How do you like Vespa Martinis, Nathan?
I like Vesper Martinis stirred, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yep. And I do like the variation because 2-to-1 is great.
Yes.
But classic. But I do like that little thinning element of the vodka in there, just to give it a little more of that kind of melding quality.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. It does add a funky little tinge to things. Vodka usually made from a basis spirit. You know, you're not really going to be getting a lot of flavor from that one. So it really kind of works well with the overwhelming flavors of the gin to create something different. And of course, if you shake it too, some people like it that way with the ice chips floating on the top. That's just fine. Here's the thing. There's no set rules for making martinis. Again, like I said earlier, if you make something and you like it, then that's the way to do it. Just don't be shy.
And Ella says that she's learning how to make gin martinis and to thank you,
Mr.
Martini.
Well, thank you, Ella. I'm glad I could aid you in your cocktail journey. Now, once again, we'll come back to the martini I am making, the Martini family recipe. I have 2 ounces of gin, 1 ounce of vermouth. I did 5 drops of grapefruit bitters to make it a little bitter. And now we are going to add our ice. Mentor of mine once told me ice is a bartender's flame. I think that sums up the use of ice in bartending place.
That's also very poetic.
Isn't it though?
Yeah.
Really is. Anywho, we're going to put the ice directly into our mixing apparatus. What you want to do is have your ice poking out just a bit from your drink. So I'm going to use a hefty little amount here. Maybe one more pour should do, or one more pull from my ice tin. Now, a little trick about martinis. When I was a young boy making martinis for my mother and father.
Oh, you would make them?
I would. They had me on the payroll.
Wow.
It was part of the family training, and I do say I excelled in that mode of training. But one little trick they taught me back then, they would make me put a mercury thermometer in there, and as I stirred, they'd want me to get it to an exact 33-degree temperature, just above freezing.
That is specific.
Very specific. I do say it makes a good martini. You don't always have to do it that way, but a good little trick that I learned is filling the ice pockets in there as compact as you can. The best way that I've found to do that is you can get a little cube of ice, in this case kind of a sheet. I like to take the back of my stirring spoon and just kind of crack it with my hands there.
Oh, I've seen bartenders do this.
You know, it's just a fun little thing.
All
yes.
right.
Crack it down, get yourself some small cubes, kind of work those cubes in, and that fills in all the air pockets. So you're really chilling your martini at every point. Just a fun little trick of the trade. Anywho, it's already had a bit to sit in there with some ice, so it's already a little cold to the touch. While periodically checking with the back of my pointer finger on my non-dominant hand.
Yeah, so you don't want to hold it, right?
You do not want to hold it. Very good point. Because when you grip it like that, the heat from your body is exiting your hand and aiding the dilution of the martini at a way faster rate than we want to go. We want it to be diluted from the stirring and the agitation of the ice, not the heat from our hands, if that makes sense. Anyway, we're almost there. Well, thank you, sir. I'm going to give it about 3 to 4 more stirs.
And how are you stirring?
Oh, yes.
Can you show, like, with your hand?
Absolutely. I'm getting ahead of myself. I apologize.
You're a master. You're working.
Exactly. You do this a couple times, you just get used to these things. But yes, while I stir, I like to do in a clockwise motion, first of all. But I find that gripping the spoon with a light grip at as close to the top as you can comfortably with a nice level arm to hand ratio. And you want to have the stirring done all in your fingers, not the wrist. The wrist adds, room for error, as in knocking down your tin and things like that.
It's a little more like strength.
Exactly.
We're going for grace.
Exactly. We're going for grace. We're not stirring a witch's brew here. We are stirring a nice.
That's next
drink. That's next week, exactly. And Halloween. Ooh. I said too much. Anywho, so as I said, a nice straight arm, stirring from your fingers, a nice light clockwise motion with grace. But that is a chilled martini if I've ever felt one. Anyway, I will now remove my spoon and I will get my fancy Hawthorne strainer. Oh, my friend Nathan here has graciously provided me with a coupe to strain my martini in. Now, this is a popular form of glassware that is used for many cocktails that are sipped in an up variation. You could use a martini glass which has the sharper V-shaped glass head, but a coupe would essentially be the same kind of vessel, just with a little bit of more of a circular bottom.
Especially if you're at home.
Yes, absolutely. I find coupes are more the norm these days. But anywho, we have our stirred fancy schmancy martini here with our Hawthorne strainer on top to prevent any ice from slipping out. And we're going to get a nice strain. As Nathan mentioned earlier, lift up. Oh, yes. Where's the chat here, if you don't mind showing me?
Oh, yeah. So Kyle says that they are so stoked to finally look cool while making drinks.
Oh, Kyle, yes, you are going to look so cool, I guarantee it. This is a crowd pleaser, if I've ever said so myself. Anywho, I just got a few more drops here.
And Couch Surfer says that they love your blue blazer.
Oh, well, thank you, sir. This is actually a Jimi Hendrix brand blazer. I'm a big fan of Jimi. Rock and roll, brother, all the way. Anyway, so as you can see, another little trick of the trade. I've stirred my martini and strained it into this beautiful glass, and now we have a nice wash line on the glass. That's what we call that little bit of space right there between the top of the glass and the liquid from the drink itself.
So are we done?
Well, we are not done yet.
Oh.
Last things last. Martinis are typically garnished with one of two things, be it a lemon peel or an olive. Olives typically go with dirty martinis, but again, Cocktails are an expression of individuality. Whatever you like is the right way. So I'm going to garnish with an olive today.
Beautiful.
Thank you, sir. I got my fancy wash line. Let's give it a go. Whew. That is a Martini family martini.
May I?
Oh, please, please.
Well, let's see, folks. This is my first time having a Martini family martini, so let's take a little whiff. Get that nice gin herbaceousness. Yeah.
Absolutely. What's the verdict?
Gonna roll it around. Get my nice. Let me express. Get it all around.
100%.
And that is delicious.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Again, I feel like the grapefruit bitters add a nice kind of a grapefruit pith undertone to it.
That is definitely the last note that I'm getting is that grapefruit. That's makes me want to take another sip.
Well, let me beat you to that punch. I'll take one myself. Well, I think we knocked it out of the park. Thank you for having me on the show today.
Of course, my friend.
And thank you to all our lovely, esteemed guests. I hope you learned something. And if you're ever in Bayou La Battery, come by the houseboat. You'll find me at the local marina. I'll make you a martini. First round's on me.
That is a beautiful invitation.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you. Is there anything else I can help you with today?
I think we're all good to go. Would you like to take your Mai Tai?
Oh, I will take the Mai Tai. I'll leave you with the martini.
Oh, thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you very much indeed. Well, let me just take one more sip this before I go. And again, my name is Jethro. Oh,
would you like a cocktail kit?
I would love a cocktail kit. I think I missed out on this part here. Is this fancy schmancy little box that I have
That
here?
is.
Wow. Well, explain what these kits are all about to me. Good
So
sir.
last week we showed how you could make the cocktail that we were shaking with this cocktail kit.
Okay.
You can find them on market. So when you get back to your boathouse, I don't know if you have internet, but you could order yourself one of these cocktail kits. We're gonna let you leave one.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm currently siphoning my internet from the local Starbucks, so I will try to get one ordered post haste. But thank you very much, my friend.
Of course. So you can make 3 full cocktails inside that kit.
Oh my God, what a deal!
Okay.
What? And these are cocktails designed by the Cocktails team.
That is a fact.
Thank you very much, my good man.
Of course.
It is always appreciated to be here, and thank you, my esteemed guests. We'll see you next time.
Please.
Oh well, don't want to forget my Mai
please.
Tai.
Yeah, of
Oh
course.
yes, thank you, sir. Thank you.
And thank you so much, my friends. We are going to sign off for now. It has been a pleasure. Once again, my name is Nathan, and this is Thirsty Thursdays with Cocktails. If there are any more signing off, thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Couchsurfer. Kate. Thank you, Rue. And thank you, Ella. So I will see you all next time.